So the main idea behind this really is how are we going to do this? So on this show itself, what we're going to be talking about is we will be talking about the idea of um, why personal development books it's bad for you. Now, it's not that the books are bad for you, but it's more of what you do with the books that it's not so good. And so in this channel itself, we speak about the mindset, skill set, and the tool set of building that 1%, 1 million or digital business. And the reason why that focus on the digital business part, it's because I think we have all seen during the pandemic that the idea of being able to do in-person events, it's something that we kind of took for granted. And increasingly, I think people are going to reevaluate and re-ask themselves whether if that is something that they want to continue doing, right? I mean, today, when I was watching the news, it just said that, and this has been said many times before, that air travel it's probably not going to pick up to pre-COVID-19 level until 2024, which is a long time. So in the meantime, between now 2020 and 2024, before we start seeing people start traveling again for businesses, for business, for events, for conferences, before that picks up or that comes back to that level, if at all, in the meantime, there are some things that we ought to do. And so today I want to cover about the mindset bit, about, why you should not, why personal development books are actually bad for you. But before I get into that, I just want to share with you some background itself. So first, I'd like to introduce to you this chemical neurotransmitter. And this neurotransmitter, it's called dopamine. Now, dopamine, it's known as a feel-good neurotransmitter. So what it does effectively is that every time you do certain thing, there is this release of this dopamine in your brain, and it gives you that pleasure, satisfaction feeling, right? In Singapore, we call it the shock factor. And so the way you think about, or the way dopamine works, is that it's the brain that releases dopamine when we take action that contributes to feelings of satisfaction. All right. So, for example, when you eat your favorite food, something that you have been craving for some time, and you finally get to eat it, you have that feeling of satisfaction. Like I say, in Singapore, we call it the shock factor, right? You have that feeling of satisfaction, and that's where dopamine is being released from your brain. Or whenever you are bored and you picked up the phone and you start scrolling through your Facebook feed, for example, and you see that someone actually commented or someone actually liked your post, again, you have that rush of dopamine, and it makes you have that sense of satisfaction. And what happens with dopamine is that over time, people can actually get addicted to that particular action itself. And so, as a result of that, you will then tend to, unconsciously, you will tend to repeat that same action that in the past have given you this level of satisfaction, this pleasure moments. You would want to revisit that feeling again, and to revisit a feeling is to take that action once again. And that's why, if you have been wondering why every couple of minutes you had to reach into your pocket to pick out your phone and scroll through, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, or even email, right? When you go through that, actually you are looking for that need of pleasure, because in the past you have experienced that pleasurable emotions, and that's the release of dopamine. And so, how does this work with personal development books? I'll get to that in a minute. And so, let's now look at the idea of personal development. Now, the idea of personal development books basically is as follows, right? You have where you are now, and you have where you want to be. And so, between where you are and where you want to be, there is a gap, right? And so, the whole idea is, first and foremost, you must have an awareness that, hey, I'm not settled. I am not satisfied with the status quo. I believe I can do better. And I would say almost all of us, right, as humans, inevitably we have that desire and that need to want to do better. Not because we just want to do better, but we are essentially built that way. That's why over hundreds and thousands of years, you have seen the betterment of human lives, and the way we live has improved tremendously. And that is a result of we always wanting to make things better. And so first you must have that awareness that, this is where I am and this is where I can be, right? So whether that this is where I can be is an idea that someone sold to you, or it's an idea that you have, or it's an idea that you see what is possible, and that's where you want to reach for that goal itself. So first there must be that awareness. Now once you have that awareness, like I said, you would realize that there is a gap, because this is where you want to be, this is where you are. And and in that gap itself, this is where stress happen, right? And so because you would be doing certain things and you would see that, I am maybe not getting closer to where I'm at. And so because there is this struggle that, you do whatever you do, and for whatever reasons you're still not getting to where you want to be. And so what that happens is your brain starts searching for solutions. And because we have, I mean, like the other day, I talked about the most underrated skill, which is about learning to learn. We have that desire to want to learn new things. And this is where personal development books comes in to bridge the gap. So you would find a series of I mean, you walked into a bookshop and you would find different type of personal development books. Some of my favorite personal development books are Think and Grow Rich, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the one that I absolutely treated as a wisdom thesis is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And of course, you have the newer generation ones that I think they are, well, they're good, but many of their ideas are, in fact, taken or derived from some of those books that I shared with you. And of course, if you dig even deeper to those wisdom theses that I shared with you earlier on, you would see that many of their ideals actually came from the Greek philosophers. So, so this whole genre of books called personal development has been developed and has evolved in such a way that it helps you bridge the gap. So you want to be productive? Well, there is a book for that. You want um, to be able to earn an income and work 4 hours in a week? There is a book for that. You want to develop better habits? There's a book for that. You want to be able to communicate more effectively? There is a book for that. So in whatever aspect of personal development itself, you can probably find a book for that. And myself, I mean, just most recently, I picked up the book called Ultra Learning. And the reason I pick up that book is because I want to go meta into learning. I want to look at learning how to learn and how we can learn something that it's complicated in a very short period of time. Because lo and behold, right now, that's what we're facing. Things are moving and evolving so fast that we probably don't even know what's going on. And in order to be able to achieve our goal or to at least stay relevant, we will need to learn as fast as we can. Now, but there is a problem, right? And the problem is as follows. Let me ask you this. If you are someone who buy books, how many of those books that you bought did you actually finish them? I mean, finish them as in read them from cover to cover. You actually completed them. Well, it may not be word for word or page by page, but are there books that you have bought that you probably read through like a third of it and you kind of put it aside? Well, I certainly have, and I will be the first to admit that many of the self-help books, I don't finish them, right? One thing, it's I don't finish them. The other thing is I kind of gave myself the excuse that I don't need everything from that book. I just need to have the best part of it. And this is quite, in a way, um, substantiated by some statistics that I pull out. And as you can see here, the percentage of people who actually finish the book, right? So on your left, it's a self-help book. Capital in the 21st century is not necessarily a self-help book. It's more like a non-fiction book, right? It's about 3%. And a self-help book like, Thinking Fast and Slow, if I am not mistaken, the percentage of people who would actually finish that book, it's only 7%. Well, in case you're wondering, I fall under the 93% of people who did not finish the book, right? And then the book on your right, The Goldfinch, that is a fiction book. And even with a fiction book, and I believe that one is a Pulitzer Prize book, um, only 44% of people have finished the book. Now, where's the problem? The problem is not just that they did not finish the book. I mean, granted, like I said earlier on, you may buy a book, and the book may offer you 7 steps, but at that point in time, what you need is essentially step 3. And so there's nothing wrong with you not finishing and just going to step 3, reading it and digesting it in as much as possible, right? Nothing wrong with that. But there will be something wrong if you do not do this. And the question is, how many of us, after reading a book, after attending a course, we would actually put what we've learned into practice? So not completing it is one part of it. And I will be the first to say that if you do not complete a book, the book itself, and you just read a part of it, you may not get the entire full essence of the book, right? So not finishing it is one part. The other thing that it's probably more serious is that many of us fail to take action after reading a self-help book. So remember, we have, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and we try to reach our goal, but we can't. And so we started searching for a solution. But once we find a solution, we start reading it, but we don't complete it. And even if we do complete it, the chances of us implementing what we have learned from that book or the courses, it's probably very, very slim, right? And if you're one of those people who have consistently been putting into practice what you've read, please drop me a comment, because I would love to talk to you about that. I would like to, geek it out a little bit more. So let's look at the top 4 reasons why people feel to take actions. And so, reason number one, I think, that's very common, especially in today's context itself. You know, reason number one, it's simple: I don't have time, right? I don't have time. Now, of course, unless, you know, this, you need this in order to save your life. Otherwise, you are inundated with so many other things to do, whether it's work, it's, parenting duties, it's your own personal time, whatever, right? I mean, you just have limited time. And especially if you're someone who, trade time for money, then obviously you are going to put the time that you are able to exchange for money ahead of the time that you can spend or invest in yourself. So, the common excuse or the common reason that I hear from people is, I don't have the time, right? The second most common reasons that why people do not take action, it's because it is not their priority. I mean, wanting to develop good habits, it's a nice thing, right? But it's not something that I must do it. If not, all else fails, right? So it becomes a good to have idea, it becomes a good to have concept. And whenever something is a good to have, it's good that I have it, but I'm kind of fine right now. You start rationalizing, and the reason why we do not take action is because, it's not our priority. Until and unless it becomes urgent, it remains important. And sometimes because we do not act on it, just because of the fact that it is important, after a while it becomes not important anymore, because that that disposition, it's not as important as what it used to be. And a third reason why many people fail to take action, myself included, it's because of uncertainty, right? I mean, you can invest all your time into developing this one aspect of it. But what if it doesn't work out? I mean, if it's like, oh, I want to do meditation, but I just don't have the time. Well, it's not my priority. I'll get to it, at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I am so tired. And worst thing is, you may come to a point whereby you say, well, what if I invest all this time and it doesn't work? Well, this is a form of fear, a fear of uncertainty. And of course, worst case is, this is something that I should do. But, what if I put in all the effort and just like last time, I fail, right? So fear is one whole crippling factor that really stops people from taking action. I mean, if you have fear in taking action in anything, please leave me a comment. I would love to chat with you. I would love to see how I can help you in terms of overcoming the fear itself, right? And the fourth factor that why most people do not take action, it's not because of their time, it's not because of the priorities, it's not because of fear. Maybe, for all you know, they start taking action. I mean, you pick up the book, you get all excited, you start reading it, and you start seeing the steps, and you start taking action. But what happens is SOS. And what is SOS? And SOS, it's short for shiny object syndrome. And this is where for the most part, many of us who are the creative ones, many of us who are the entrepreneurial type, we sometimes do fall for this shining object syndrome. Oh, there is a new social media platform. I need to check this out. Oh, there is a new tool. I need to check this out. Oh, there is a new camera. Oh, I need to check this out. And so we kind of jump from one thing to another, right? I mean, like, oh, there is a new book out on this particular topic that maybe this book might just give me that secret formula. Maybe this course is just going to give me that one step that's going to help me unlock my potential. And so we abandon what we have learned and we never quite put it into practice. And then we start going into, something else. So shiny object syndrome, right? Now, so having known all that, I need to say that the issue with personal development books is that it is not the books that is bad. What is bad is if you and I learn something and we do not apply it, then what's going to happen is we are just going to, at best, we're just going to have it as hate knowledge, right? And we're probably not going to see that manifest in our life. So, what is the solution to that? Well, the solution to that for me, it's three things, right? So, the first thing is, I, whenever I learn, I make sure that I have an objective for learning. Because these days, we are so tight with time that I I just want to make sure that if I am going to invest time into learning something, there has to be an objective. I mean, I'm not at this stage where I am just going to learn for the sake of learning. I mean, there are some things that I will do that, but for the most part, there is a reason why I'm learning, and that reason is because I have a problem that I need solved. And so every time I picked up something, there is a problem, there is a challenge that I want to resolve. And so learning objective must have it. Now, what happened after I learned something is I would reflect. And here reflection is not just thinking about, this sounds nice. But what I reflect on is the following. I use what I've learned to check my assumptions about what I believe to be true. Because because of our background, our education, our environment, and our experiences, sometimes we have a particular way of thinking that this is the way things are. This is what is true. And like it or not, sometimes that perception or that assumption is wrong. And so when I picked up the book, the first thing that I do is not to jump in, and I used to do that, not to jump in and immediately say, wow, that's a great idea. Let's embrace it. What I do is I will take that idea and I will ask myself, how does this challenge the way I look at this particular thing? Right? So I would reflect by checking my assumptions as well as checking against my values, because it, when I read something, it may be telling me to do something that it's kind of against my value system. Then obviously I'm not going to implement that. Right? Now, what's key is after you reflect, if that's where you stop, you're just going to be a philosopher, which in a way I was couple of years back. But what I've learned is that what's really important is to implement and iterate. right? Implement it and then fine tune, iterate it, fine tune, make adjustment, get feedback, fine tune, and keep doing that over and over and over again. And because by doing that, that is where you have true mastery, right? And if I could give you a bonus thing that you can do to take the mastery to another level, that bonus is to teach. And so, with that, my friend, I hope that whatever personal development book that you are reading right now, it's going to be a book that you not only read, but it's going to be the book that you are going to learn, you are going to reflect, you are going to implement, iterate, and you are also going to teach. And with that, I thank you so much for watching. Got a comment? Leave it below. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, because these are the cool things that we will share on this channel. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.